Thank the gentleman, and I appreciate my colleague's words here tonight. There's not a whole lot left really to cover, whether it was the gentleman from Pittsburgh or the gentleman from Patterson or the gentleman from East Hartford or the gentleman from Somerville and Boston area, and also the gentleman from upstate New York. We've seen them cover many of the issues here. They've been broken down. I would just like to maybe touch on a point or two. A lot of members have come to this floor, and on all the TV shows, they talk a lot about, we got to pay our bills, we got to pay our bills. I think everybody here agrees that we've got to pay our bills. It's important for us to remember the bills that were racked up that we have to go out and pay. Those appropriations bills, off budget many times, were to fund two wars. Went right on Uncle Sam's credit card. Both of them. Not paid for. And many of our colleagues on the other side never came to this floor and said, oh my God, how are we going to pay for all this? Economist after economist would come back and say, this is going to be, it may be 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 billion today. We factor in all the veterans that are coming back. These wars are going to be $2 to $3 to $4 trillion when it's all said and done. And I don't remember being here watching a member come up on the other side of the aisle, get in the well, and make an argument that we need to pay for these wars if we're going to go. Not one. And now today, they want to talk about being responsible. They want to talk about us meeting our obligation. Now, they want to say, oh yeah, we ran up those credit cards. We swiped them, and we kept swiping them and kept swiping. And then we doubled down. We need a surge. Let's double down. Let's run that credit card one more time. And now today, they're saying, we're not going to pay the bills. We're going to default. Unless you repeal the Affordable Care Act. Then we'll have a conversation. So it's the height of irresponsibility. Another thing that I find humorous is how over the past few years we've been lectured to by many members of the Tea Party about the Constitution of the United States. And how they're the only Americans, this 20, 25, maybe 30%, these are the only Americans who have read the Constitution. And they're the only ones that adhere to the Constitution. But yet, when we talk about the political process that we need to work through, as Mr. Capuano was just saying, hey, you can have a reasonable position. You don't like it? Go to the ballot box. Win the election. But yet those very same members are now thumbing their nose at the political process that the Founding Fathers set up for us to adhere to. We were here during the Iraq War. I was. I wasn't for it. Campaigned against it in my first campaign. Guess what? I didn't win. Didn't win the argument. 2002, 2003. Didn't win it in 2004, 2005. Came to this floor night after night after night. We finally won the House back. 2006, won the House and Senate. We tried to stop the war. We didn't do it. But we took it to the people and we won the House and the Senate back. 2007, 2008, we took it back to the street. Won the presidency, and then, longer than any of us wanted, we finally started winding things down. We went through the political process. We didn't shut the government down. We didn't say we're going to default on the credit card bills that previous Congresses ran up, even though we disagreed with how they spent the money. What's happening is radical. These are radical acts here in the House chamber. And to say we're here to negotiate if you get rid of the Affordable Care Act is ludicrous. Doesn't make any sense. Have the guts to go to the American people and make the argument. For the life of me, I can't figure out why you wouldn't let the Affordable Care Act get set up. It's so awful, right? If it's so bad, set it up, let it go. President Obama has his fingerprints all over it. The Democrats have their fingerprints all over it. If it fails, you'll win the Senate in 2014. And if it's so bad, you'll win the presidency in 2016. Then defund it. Then dismantle it. and put 30, 40 million people out of the health care system. Make sure you can get denied health care for having a pre-existing condition and put the insurance companies between the doctor and the patient. Fine. You won the elections. Perfectly capable of doing that. Have the guts to go to the street and make the argument. 70% of Americans are saying, do not shut the government down to try to end the Affordable Care Act. I will say what I think is happening here. I think the House leadership on the Republican side, I think they have Stockholm Syndrome. I think they have started to identify themselves with their captors. The Tea Party has now convinced the leadership in the House of Representatives that they should have sympathy and empathy towards their captors. And so the whole country at this point is being shut down of this. Lastly, let me say that the only successful moments in politics that our friends on the other side have had is when they divide the American people. Who's in a union, who's not in a union, who's in a public sector union versus who's in a private sector union, who's black, who's white, who's gay, who's straight. Divide, 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 divide. And here we are in 2013, a divided nation that is ungovernable at this point because of the power that is held by the Tea Party in the United States House of Representatives. I just want to say that there is a future waiting to be taken for this country. Investments back in the United States, into our infrastructure, into our research, into renewable energies, into expanding the grid and making it smarter, into making sure everyone has access to the latest technologies, three-dimensional printers in schools, robotics, Legos, get kids excited about learning. We only have 313 million people in the United States. We're competing against 1.4 billion people in China, and we're sitting on our hands. We're not making the investments we need to be making. And there are colleges and universities and schools that need the investment. And every day that goes by, Mr. Garamendi, every day that goes by, we see 1 more, 2 more, 5 more, 10 more situations where investments were made collectively by the public that benefit our country. And we need to end this lockout that's happening right now. And I thank the gentleman for his leadership.